He brought the basketball outside, and I grabbed the half door. A few playful swings later, Grammy appeared at the window, her face a mixture of shock and fury. "What did I just say about the door?" she shouted. My sister calmly responded, "You said nothing about how many times he can swing. We're following your rules." She froze, realizing her authority was being challenged by three determined kids working in perfect tandem. It was incredible, every smirk and glance we exchanged silently communicated victory. Later that afternoon, we decided it was time for the movie Rebellion. The R-rated film was cued, and we dimmed the lights. Grammy wandered by, suspicious but distracted by a phone call from Mom. She had to work and couldn't check in every minute. We sat quietly, pretending to read while sneaking peeks at the screen. When she finally turned around, she barely acknowledged us, muttering, "I suppose you're too old to monitor constantly." That was music to our ears. The weekend wasn't just bearable, it was exhilarating. Each act of defiance, small as it seemed, strengthened our bond and sense of control. But the real test came when Grammy tried her signature tactic, psychological manipulation. She began picking on me directly, using past stories and snide remarks to unsettle me. "Do you really think you can handle this?" she hissed. Instead of panicking, my siblings immediately surrounded me. "We can handle it, and you're wrong," my brother said firmly. "She's done nothing wrong." "Yeah, leave her alone," my sister added, her voice unwavering. Grammy froze. She wasn't used to this. She had expected isolation, fear, and compliance, but instead, she was met with united front. Her authority crumbled piece by piece as the weekend progressed. By evening, we had escalated our little rebellions into a game of wits. Subtle tricks, like hiding her reading glasses, moving her knitting basket slightly, or swapping TV channels, gave us bursts of laughter while testing her patience. We never broke rules that would get us in serious trouble, but every clever move made the weekend our playground and her battleground. As the day drew to a close, we realized something remarkable: we weren't just surviving the weekend, we were thriving. Grammy, on the other hand, was fraying at the edges. Each tactic we used chipped away at her composure, and every time she tried to assert dominance, we countered with humor, cleverness, and sibling solidarity. Before bed, we whispered again in our room, laughing quietly. "Tomorrow, we finish the weekend strong," my brother said. "Yes," I replied. "She won't know what hit her." And indeed, the climax of the weekend was just around the corner: Mom's return and Grammy's unforgettable reaction. By Sunday morning, the tension in the house had reached its peak. Grammy's carefully cultivated authority had eroded almost completely, replaced by subtle irritation that she couldn't quite control. Every minor act of ours, from swinging on the half door to sneakily watching an R-rated movie, had chipped away at her patience, and the weekend had turned into a battlefield of wit and subtle rebellion. We started the day quietly, pretending to do homework while sharing small, conspiratorial glances across the room. My brother kept tossing a small ball at me under the table, and I would fumble it deliberately, making it look accidental. Grammy noticed immediately, her eyes narrowing with suspicion. "I told you no playing indoors," she snapped. My sister, ever calm, spoke up. "We're just practicing coordination. It's part of schoolwork, really." Grammy froze. We were relentless, but always careful enough to make our rebellions seem innocent. Her frustration grew with every little act, and it was almost cinematic, the way she paced, muttered under her breath, and scrutinized every corner of the house. Then came the moment we had been waiting for: Mom's arrival. We heard the car pull up outside. Grammy immediately rushed to the front door, standing stiffly as Mom stepped out of the car, suitcase in hand. The expression on Grammy's face was unforgettable, a mix of relief, shock, and disbelief. She barely managed a curt nod before practically running to her cab, eager to escape the weekend alive. Mom stepped inside, her eyebrows raised. "Well, what happened here?" she asked, smiling as she looked at our grinning faces. We feigned innocence perfectly. "Nothing. Just a normal weekend," I said, trying not to laugh. Mom shook her head, her smile widening. "I see. Well, it looks like you learned a lot about teamwork and standing up for each other." We couldn't stop giggling, but we maintained our angelic facades just long enough. Mom laughed, clearly impressed by how we had managed the situation. "I think Grammy taught you more than you realize about handling difficult people," she said. "But I also think you taught her a lesson she won't forget anytime soon." The entire drive south back to Dad's place was filled with quiet chuckles and whispered recounts of our small victories. We had survived, not just survived, but thrived. Grammy's attempts to intimidate us had been cleverly neutralized by teamwork, humor, and strategic mischief. That weekend became legendary in our family lore. It wasn't just about rebelling or breaking rules, it was about solidarity, cleverness, and knowing when to act with precision. It was about learning that even the most formidable authority can be outwitted, not through force, but through intelligence, courage, and unity. Years later, we still laugh about it. Grammy rarely, if ever, spoke of that weekend, but we knew, without a doubt, that our clever little rebellions had left a mark. More importantly, we learned a valuable life lesson: when you have the right people by your side, even the scariest challenges can become unforgettable adventures. As the weekend faded into memory, we realized something profound. It wasn't just about outsmarting Grammy or having fun at her expense. It was about family. About standing together, supporting one another, and learning to navigate challenges, no matter how intimidating they seemed. Looking back, I can see now how much Mom had prepared us for this moment, even if she didn't realize it. She had taught us resilience, empathy, and courage, qualities that weren't measured in grades or sports scores, but in moments like these. Moments where we had to defend ourselves, make clever choices, and trust each other completely. That weekend also taught us an important lesson about perspective. Grammy, for all her faults, had her own insecurities and rigid beliefs. By finding ways to challenge her, playfully, carefully, and strategically, we weren't just having fun, we were learning how to deal with difficult people. We learned that confrontation doesn't always mean aggression, sometimes, it means cleverness, humor, and timing. Even the small victories, the swings on the half door, the hidden glasses, the movie Rebellion, became symbolic reminders of what we could achieve together. Every smirk, every whispered glance, and every quick save from one sibling to another reinforced the bond that Mom had nurtured in us. And Grammy? She left that weekend with her composure shaken and her authority slightly diminished. But in the end, she never fully realized how clever and united we had been. It was our little secret, a victory that stayed with us for years, a story that would be retold countless times with laughter and nostalgia. In the grand scheme of things, that weekend wasn't about revenge or mischief, it was about growth, resilience, and the extraordinary power of family solidarity. We had turned a potentially terrifying situation into a memorable adventure, and the lessons we learned would carry us through life in ways far beyond the confines of that house. Even now, decades later, I smile when I think about that weekend. It reminds me that no matter how challenging life may seem, humor, cleverness, and the support of those who care about you can turn even the most daunting circumstances into something remarkable. And that, ultimately, is the story of how a weekend with our seemingly impossible grandmother became one of the most unforgettable, hilarious, and instructive moments of our childhood.